Need for Speed has been brought back to the Nintendo Switch with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered that came out to a whole slew of consoles in 2020. And I must say, I'm kind of surprised to see after 7 years we saw a return to Nintendo consoles of the Need for Speed series and the franchise overall. And with that, I do want to talk about what that means for the series going forward and if the game itself is worth getting. And with that, my name is Zach, welcome to Clark Creations, and let's talk about it. So let's start where EA left off. So EA 7 years ago stopped making games for Nintendo. And what that meant was in the Wii U era, they made a special port of Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 and it sold like shit. We don't have official numbers on just how many it sold, though developers talked about just why they don't want to put a new game out. And it's why we didn't get Need for Speed Rivals or any of the other new Need for Speed games, starting with Need for Speed 2015, on either the Wii U or the Switch. And I know the easiest thing to say is going to be sales, obviously, but I think there's a huge difference in the power of the Switch compared to these newer consoles, and it's shown its face in a couple other developments. If anyone is a fan of the Doom series, they would know just how annoying it is to play it on the Switch compared to other consoles. First off, in the fact that it may take months after the original releases for the Switch to get their release, and then secondly, whenever you actually go to play the game, it's a much worse visual feeling, and you get frame drops. But that's to be expected. That's the problem with the Switch, is also it's a really weak console. It's effectively a really strong tablet. And so, on one hand, it's surprising that EA didn't do anything on the Switch with the Need for Speed franchise. But on the other hand, with Ghost Games, developers for Need for Speed 2015 and up, not making great games, it's also not too surprising to see they didn't want to dip their hands, dip their toes, dip everything, I don't know, into the Nintendo Switch, because it would be a pain in the ass with it being such a weaker console. And so it was really surprising in 2020 to hear that EA wanted to put racing games on the Switch. Because first, to begin with, we got Burnout Paradise Remastered, to be exact. And it's a pretty good game in its own. It's basically in the similar era as Hot Pursuit. And it was an Xbox 360 PS3 game that was remastered and put out. It came out in 2018 for the other consoles, I believe. And it came with everything that was sold at the time, because they had DLC at that point for them. But Hot Pursuit did not have the same type of DLC at the time. And so it was interesting that EA put out Burnout on there and left a lot of people questioning, well, are we going to get Need for Speed at some point? Because I don't think anyone expected Need for Speed Payback or Need for Speed Heat to come onto the console, because the console is so weak. But it was honestly surprising to see they put Hot Pursuit Remastered on the Switch, because, well, if you overall look at the EA games that are on the Switch, basically it's two series. It's Plants vs. Zombies and FIFA. And neither of those two are particularly great on the Switch. Plants vs. Zombies plays fine, it's no big deal, but FIFA, basically the last 3 games have been roster updates, literally changing who's on the teams on FIFA, and that's not cool at all. And we don't even have things like Madden or The Sims on the Switch, which sucks. And is why it was pretty cool to see we finally got Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. And so let's finally get to just how well it plays. I think overall, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit is kind of lackluster on everything else. But on the Switch, it is especially weird. The way I say that is that it doesn't look bad on the Switch at all. It looks better than a lot of racing games on the Switch, because a lot of racing games on the Switch right now are just these mobile game ports that are pretty boring. The biggest one that we have right now that's of the true racing game, that's not a kart game like Mario Kart, would be Asphalt. Asphalt 9 looks like ass. And there's no real good way to say that. Now, we've got a couple ports with WRC 9, and we might get WRC 10 also, which would both be pretty cool, but it's not the same, you know? Those two games are off-road rally racing games as opposed to the more arcade racing, and while they're good, they're definitely a different breed than the Need for Speed Burnouts, and basically those are the two big ones. And so it's a weird spot that Need for Speed Hot Pursuit takes now. The game is an Xbox 360 game, like I said before, so the Switch shouldn't have a huge issue running it, but depending on just what's being loaded into the game itself, you can get some stuttering and frame rate drops into it. Now, I wouldn't say it's to the point that the game's not worth playing. I really do enjoy it, and it's pretty minimal. And unless you're really paying attention in the middle of a racing cutscene, in the middle of a race, holy shit, it's not bad. It really isn't. It's a fun game, and if you haven't played Hot Pursuit before, Hot Pursuit Remastered is good. But you heard that R word I said, right? Remastered? Well, I can't tell the difference between the two games. Sure, it looks a little bit better because it's running on newer hardware, but in terms of the way the game has been remastered, EA is really stretching out what the hell that word means. The game itself, I would say all day, if you enjoy it, go get it. As for what this means for the Switch, is something else. The last time that EA seriously dipped their toes into Nintendo was on the Wii. Wii U got one game, it sold poorly because freaking Wii U sold 14 million units. Within like 2 years, the Switch had sold the same amount. I think the Switch has a better chance of actually selling these Need for Speed games. So I really want one of two situations to occur. I think the first situation is the better situation, but I think the second situation I'm going to lay out is the more possible situation. With the first situation, I want to explain really quickly that Ghost Games, the developer that made Need for Speed 2015, Payback, and Heat, has been canceled? No, it was shut down, which sucks. With Ghost Games being gone, we didn't get a game in 2020. The developers that were there were working on the Battlefield series for 2021, and hopefully with this being done, the Battlefield game being out in like November, I would really hope either we get a Need for Speed game this year, or if we don't, we get another interesting port, remaster, whatever the hell you want to call it, because EA doesn't like using words correctly. And I would like to see that and more. I would like to see more remasters come out in between these series games. So you can have your new games made by your premier developer, whatever will take the place of Ghost for the Need for Speed series, and have those come out every 2 years. I think a yearly release schedule just hurts games. I'm a Pokemon fan, holy cow. If they had more time to make games, that would be great, and I want to see the same with Need for Speed. If we had a 2-year cycle where every other year we got the brand new biggest Need for Speed title we've ever gotten that is fully fleshed out and comes out on everything, that would be cool. I'd like to see it on PS5, the Xbox Series consoles, and the Switch. Now, I know that sounds weird because we're talking about something that runs as strong as a gaming computer and an overbuilt tablet. So what I would like to see is a substantial downgrade for the Switch, so the Switch can still play these games while not compromising the PS5 and Xbox Series games. Would they look severely different? Well, yes, and I expect just that. And I know some people will be like, oh no, but it's gonna hurt the other games. And with that, I would charge you to look at any other old Need for Speed that came out on a handheld console and also came out on every other console that was a home console. Think of Need for Speed Most Wanted 510. That game was vastly different for the PS3 and the Xbox 360 than the PSP port. And I don't think they're bad. I think we should do stuff like that. If we have to sacrifice the open world portion for just racing portions, so be it. If it has to look as if I'm playing in 720p all the time, so be it. If I wanted to enjoy a version that looked really good, you need the strongest consoles. But don't make it to where I can't play your newest series because I chose a weak console. And so what I would also like to see, and for my situation number 2, is, like I said with that every other year, I in between every other year, I want to see a port come out. And I know I'm asking a lot for a developer, it seems not to care too much about Need for Speed anymore, but I'd love to see, like, remastered games come out. Personally, if you can't tell, I'm only 20. I've never played Need for Speed Underground games. I know I'm going to trigger some millennials here by saying I don't give two shits about those games. They look horrible and would need some substantial work to be of any value in 2021 or going forward. I would like to see these ports of some of the older but still good games. Need for Speed Pro Street, Need for Speed Nitro, specifically for the Switch because of its Wii status. It was only released on the Wii in, I think, 2011. And I would like to see Need for Speed Most Wanted 510 come out, or even Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, a Criterion game, because I think those were really good games. And we could even get some of the weirder, more odd ones like Need for Speed Shift, Carbon, Undercover, or The Run. I don't really like all those games that much. They really led to a weird stage in Need for Speed life where the upgradability of the cars really wasn't there, the customization really wasn't there, but it was still an interesting game to play, and I think slotting those in every other year allows you to play some of these old games that are cool on newer hardware, while at the same time not compromising the ability for their premier company, whoever that'll be after Ghost Games, to make their games every other year, or maybe even go once every 3 years, if it makes the games, like, rival the Horizon series. Because Forza Horizon has been dominating in the place of Need for Speed for a while now because of just how shitty they've been making these games. On to my situation 2. Let's say they don't want to do that, and they only, like, they want to come out with a yearly game every 2 years, but they don't want to put those games on the Switch. Honestly, I think this is going to be how it goes. We haven't really seen the substantial downporting to a handheld console in a while, mainly because Nintendo really burned a lot of companies with the Wii U, and so they backed off of Nintendo completely and didn't really mess with the 3DS. And that sucks. I really think a lot of companies are still holding out like that. Even EA, they're one of the biggest companies that have still held out for as long as they have. So I think situation 2 would be, we'll see an occasional port maybe once every 3-4 years. And by that time, we might have Switch 2 at that point, or whatever the hell Nintendo's got cooking up in the next 10 years. And we get, like, a port of, like, Need for Speed Underground 2, or Need for Speed Most Wanted 510, or maybe even just a small port of some of their older games, like Need for Speed Rivals. And I don't want that to be the case. I really don't. I think that is very possible, though, that these Xbox 360 and back racing games are going to be bullshittily remastered and put on the Switch, and that's all we'll get. And it's going to hurt. It really is, that EA may not care about the Switch. They've already shown that they're really weird about the Switch. Come out with a game 2 years after the other games have come out and charge you $20 more for it. But I'm not talking about Burnout today. What I want to see is Need for Speed come back to the Switch in full force. And I know that's requiring a lot from EA. And EA hasn't got that sort of money put into a Switch game yet. I do hope they will, though. I want to see our new ports of games, maybe even coming out with Switch exclusives like Need for Speed Nitro was with the Wii, or at the very least give us the same Need for Speed game that everyone else gets in the next year or two whenever you come out with a new one. And I know I'm asking for a lot for the Switch from EA, from a third party in general. They're kind of weird on the Switch. But I really do hope that we can get the king of arcade racers, Need for Speed, back on Nintendo. It's been 7 years and we got one game. This one game, I hope, is the door opener to EA to show that there's some serious money on this console. And with that, let me know, do you like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit and want to see more of these games on there? Are you okay with losing a little bit of graphical fidelity so that these games play better and so we can get more of these games? Or have you moved on from Nintendo and wanting to play the Need for Speed series, or even some of the old Burnout games? And with that, thanks for watching. Consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and coming back for some more videos every time I make one. I would give you a schedule, but I haven't kept the one yet. If you look at my shit, I disappear for a month. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. With that, Goodbye.